So today we're in the northern New Mexico area near Taos, and we're looking at big sagebrush and the effects that it has on the grasses. Right here you can see this land has been invaded by big sagebrush, and there's very little grasses, very little understory in here, and the little bit of grass that does grow is blue grama and a little bit of galleta, warm season grasses. There's hardly any diversity in here, and there's quite a bit of bare ground. We're going to take some soil samples and we're going to simulate rainfall on it and see how it affects infiltration and runoff. And so now we're looking at a piece of land that has been spiked or treated with Tebuthiuron, and you can see a really big difference in the productivity of the land. And this land here was not seeded after the treatment. This treatment was around 2011, and you can see it's still doing really well. You can see the old skeletons of the sagebrush. You can see all the western wheatgrass. You can see the same blue grama. This land here has a lot more diversity and a lot less bare ground, you can see. Here's some bottlebrush squirrel tail. This one right here is western wheat. This short growing, low growing grass is blue grama. And you can see this land is in a lot better shape. A lot less bare ground, a lot more cover, a lot more diversity, continuous living roots, all the things that we associate with healthy lands and soil health. So now, okay. Soil health principles, right? Cover, living roots, diversity, and minimizing disturbance. Integrating livestock, right? Okay. So what I'm going to show you here, we're going to pour the same amount of water and simulate rainfall here. What happens when we get rain out here? All we get is erosion. We don't get infiltration. Everybody was so opposed to a chemical treatment just for the sake of it being a chemical treatment. That's it. Okay? Without knowing why we're doing this, without knowing the effects that it has on the aquifer, the water table. You talk to the old timers that have been ranching here for years all over New Mexico, and they talk about the springs that used to flow here, and we used to have a spring here, and they used to water out of here, and the springs went dry. Okay? And we talk about the water table dropping in all of our wells and things like that, and we scratch our head and we wonder what happened. This is what's going on, okay? Because our lands are not healthy, we're not getting infiltration into our soils. We're not recharging our aquifers. The other thing that's going on, all that woody species encroachment, now we've got a lot more sagebrush that used to be there sucking up water, the little bit that is there, and we're not recharging it for lack of the fine vegetation, right? So we got something that didn't used to be there pulling water, and something that used to facilitate water going back in the aquifer, and that's not there either. And we scratch our heads, we wonder why the water table's dropping and why the spring quit flowing. And then we get the rainfall events in the monsoons, and they all end up in the gully and in the arroyo, just like this. Take a look at that, the amount of runoff versus infiltration. You can't argue with results. The environmentalist and the rancher all want the same thing: healthy lands. I've never met a rancher or a farmer who didn't want healthy lands. And I've yet to find an environmentalist that doesn't want healthy lands. We're on the same page on that, okay? What we can't agree on is how to get there, okay? The rancher's the one out here that's going to do it, because an environmentalist isn't going to do it. They're going to protest it and fight it and fight it. The rancher's going to go and apply for equip and get that airplane hired and get that treatment done, while the rest of them are picketing with their sign in opposition. Okay? And so the rancher's not the enemy. Okay? Some of it went all the way through. You see that? Pretty quick rainfall event, but we got this equal amounts of water on both sides. The difference, the roots, amount of roots in here, diversity of roots. We got 3 different species of roots just right in this little sample here. Okay, and I cut a bunch of them off with my knife so it would sit flat, but these roots were deep. Okay, look how easy that thing crumbled. No aggregates. We talk about aggregates and root exudates and all that good stuff, those big fancy words we like to use, right? At the end of the day, what they help do, break up compaction, reduce erosion, facilitate infiltration when we get rain, snow, all these things over here. And so, look at that. There's nothing. There's no life in these soils. Shallow roots, deep roots. Healthy soils, unhealthy soils. Clean runoff, dirty runoff. Infiltration, no infiltration. Recharge of the aquifer, no recharge. Or very little recharge. We poured 2 cups of water in there. Okay? And we got 1 cup back. 50%. Okay, 50% of it went in the soil, and the other 50% ran off. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay? A little over a half a cup. Okay? Let's just call it 75%.
Jim,
And 25%. Big difference.
you had already put water on it and it was probably already saturated.
It was probably a little saturated. If your lands are healthy and you only got 12 inches of rain, but most of it got in your soil, and then your neighbor over here, he's got unhealthy lands, and he got 14 inches of rain, but only half of them got in the soil, who got more rain? It's not about how much rain you get. How much rain did I get in my soils is the question. Not how many of it fell out of the sky. How much of it are we getting into the soil? That's the big question. Okay? That's the goal. It's a perfect example of treating the symptom and not addressing the real problem. And so, like I tell people all the time, like, I can get you a brand new liver, but you gotta quit drinking, man. You know? And we can do all the spike treatments in the world, and we can do all the range improvements in the world, but we gotta follow up with the good management right behind. Okay? It's that lifestyle change that goes along with the new liver, right? Okay? So that's what all these workshops are about. New ways, new ideas, and trying to keep moving forward.